Please welcome Tony.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. We are connected. Our social structures are intertwined with our physical and digital structures. And we're seamlessly moving through spaces and place. Yet there's always a point where we leave something in order to enter something. And that point in time is both ancient and modern. And I guess most of us don't walk around thinking about every single door we pass through. But doors are more than just gateways. They also shape our experiences. I don't know if you know, but doors have been around for a long time. Basically, some say they're as old as civilization itself, often reflecting the complexity of their time. Ancient Egyptians used wooden doors, and carved beautiful carvings into these doors, showcasing their artistry and skill. The Romans incorporated bronze, highlighting their technological advancements, also showcasing their need for increased security. Basically, doors are as complex as the structures they serve. When we say doors, we usually think of these guys, the physical ones. But this might be where we differentiate. Yes, me English good. Some of you might think of sliding doors. Some of you might think of pivot doors. Some of you might think of revolving doors. This is my favorite kind of door, because if you think about it, it's actually 3 to 4 doors in one that spins around. And when it comes to physical aspects of doors, the possibilities are basically endless. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And these are not unique doors on their own, but often exist in combination. So if you want to make a unique door, you're in good luck. But doors are also objects to which we ascribe cultural meaning. In ancient China, the door, or red door, symbolized prosperity and good fortune. In medieval Europe, the church door or cathedral doors symbolized a transition between the mundane and the divine. And across all cultures, doors are seen as those thresholds between the unknown and the known, the private and the public. And if I say Greece, what do you think of? Thank you. Scared about this one. Of course, we think of blue doors. And they showcase the Greek culture's close relationship to the sky and the sea. And it's also believed that the door, or blue door, protects against evil spirits and insects. And there seems to be some scientific truth to that. I mean, the insect part. I don't know about the evil spirit part. But even the details of a door can shed some light on their cultural origin. I guess in Europe, we're mostly familiar with door handles. But in the US, they have doorknobs, which has always perplexed me. But the reason could be that the modern doorknob is an American invention and has become a part of traditional American architecture. Doors are also prominent in fiction, to the point where we can consider them characters in their own right. In one of my favorite books, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, we follow a young boy that loses his father in the 9/11 attacks. And after his death, the boy finds a key amongst his belongings. And the boy sets out on an adventure throughout New York City, trying to find the door that this key potentially opens. And in sci-fi and science fiction, the door is often used as an object to set the tone of the universe. And what greater sci-fi war than the war between Star Wars and Star Trek? And I basically think this war boils down to which of these fictional universes has the best door type. And more specifically, which door sounds the best. Where you have your Star Wars, more of a shh, shh, and Star Trek has more of a ka-chunk to it. And fun fact about the Star Trek door is that there were no automatic sliding doors before they introduced it in the TV series. But as we all know, reality often follows fiction. When one door closes, another one opens. Be an opener of doors. Lives just 2 doors down the street, and what happens behind doors, or closed doors, well, I guess we all heard one of these phrases before, and they exist in most languages. And that showcases that doors have become a part of how we communicate. They're used as metaphors to communicate many different things, and it's also become a part of how we actually think. I just want to point out that this is not a mental institution. This is the university library in Lund, where I used to study, which, same. But this place had these wooden doors, and I don't know if they're still very hard to open physically, but when I studied, they were like very heavy doors. And sometimes they were heavy mentally as well, to get through these doors. And at other times, they were an invitation to knowledge and learning. I don't know if you've ever had a boss or a CEO that told you, my door is always open. Yet there seems to be a mental door in the same place, sometimes preventing us from just waltzing in, sometimes for good reason. And then we have the digital doors, which is the kind of doors I usually work with as a UX designer. You have the more abstracted kind, like a login page, because when you think about it, a login page is basically just a door for the next step in a URL. And digital doors also often find their inspiration or functional inspiration from their physical counterparts. Like a fire door and a firewall more or less has the same functionality. Most houses have a back door, and so does most of our digital structures, as an alternative route for getting in when the front door fails to provide. I work within the context of applying technology in the situation of doors. And it could be technology like video cameras for facial recognition or license plate recognition. Over there, that black box is an intercom, which is basically just a box full of technologies. You might have video, audio for communication, keypad for number input, RFID readers for card scanning. And then we have the physical door controller, which basically controls the physical state of the door, which also incorporates a wide variety of sensors. It might have a door sensor that actually checks if the door is open or not, or people counters that calculates how many people has passed through the door. We also have connected network audio for enhancing the experience or extending the experience. And of course, modern doors connect to mobile phones for different reasons. And this is not just one door, a front door. These types of doors exist in physical locations throughout the complex structure. And it creates a dual nature where the door acts as an interface, but we as people interact with both the physical structure, which might be most apparent, but we also interact in a digital structure, knowingly or unknowingly. But just pause and reflect a second about spaces and place. A space is an abstract concept that can be measured in empirical terms, in distance and volume and so on. A place is something that is defined by our human experiences. Places don't exist beyond us, so to say. For instance, this park or playground is a space, but to a child, it's a place. And that place might start once they enter one of these circles, or it might start at the tree line, or it might start as soon as they set foot into the park. It's our interactions within spaces that create places. If we have a quick look at most of the innovation going on today, it's all about displacing and moving spaces and places around. Airbnb, for instance, basically what they do is to sell access to your home when you're not there, because when you're not there, a home is just a space. Or is it? Or if you look at Amazon and online retail chains, what they've done is basically just remove the space in between the storefront and your front door. And the store is also an interesting concept or metaphor used by Erving Goffman in his social theory about masks, how I put on different personas in different contexts. He uses the store to exemplify this, where as a clerk you might have one persona in the front store facing the customers trying to sell goods, while in the back room having fika with your colleagues you might put on a different persona. But the interesting thing is that the thing that tells us when to put on which mask is usually the door we pass through. So our structures are becoming more and more intertwined, and gateways are still, or doors are still that gateway between that interconnected environments we live in. My job is to provide access to the right kind of people at the right time, and very pleasant or unpleasant experience for the wrong kind of people. So the modern door holds huge potentials also for personalizing experiences. When we know who enters what, we can also adapt the situation accordingly. But we can also, to some degree, determine to which degree the person is able and adapt the situation accordingly, making not maybe equally seamless, but still a high level of seamlessness. In a sense, doors are becoming more and more invisible. I don't know if you see it, but it should be slightly invisible. Thanks. But, and of course there's always a but. Knowing who is where when with absolute certainty is very powerful information. And if that falls into the wrong hands, that could be devastating. But it's also problematic if we start over-relying too much on digital gateways, because what happens if they fail us? If the power goes out, how do we get in and out? Or if they fail to provide the level of seamlessness we're grown accustomed to, what happens then to our experience and the rest of our journey through structures? And personalizing experiences is also problematic on its own, because in order to personalize something, you have to make assumptions about people. And we start automating those assumptions, we might run the risk of solidifying them through technology. And of course, AI has entered the arena, and AI holds huge potential for secure environments, but also presents interesting questions. What happens if AI on its own starts to decide who is worthy access or not? Or even worse, if AI starts to decide that we are a threat to the structures they aim to serve, what happens then? And what would happen if we start removing doors altogether? Because let's remember, doors are not merely physical objects. They force us to pause and reflect. They frame the structures we enter and shape our experience within them. And as objects, they carry our culture, and they're central to our psychology. And they will endure long after we're gone to tell our stories. So as we move forward, I invite you to think critically about the doors we create, both the digital ones and the analog ones. But I also invite you to think critically about the doors we remove. Thank you so much.